So yesterday you guys watched a super quick video on how to add and subtract decimals. And so this whole first page is adding and subtracting decimals. So we're just going to do maybe 2 or 3 of these questions as a review. And then most of this video is going to be multiplying decimals on the next page. So to add or subtract decimals, you line up the place values and the decimal points. So again, to add or subtract decimals, line up the place values and the decimal points. So on this first example, we have 57 and 4/10 plus 8 and 92 hundredths. So I always start with the bigger number first. Now that doesn't mean the longest number. That means which whole numbers are bigger. So 57 is bigger than 8. So I'm going to start with 57 and 4/10. And then I'm going to add 8 and 92 hundredths. So I have to line up my decimal point, so I know my decimal point has to go there, which means 8 goes below the 7, the 9 goes below the 4, and then the 2 goes to the right. Now, if it's easier for you, you can add zeros in there to help line up your other place values. And then we add like normal, and we're going to bring our decimal point straight down. So 0 plus 2 is 2, 4 plus 9 is 13, so I carry the 1, bring down the 3. And then I add 8 plus 7 plus 1. Well, 8 plus 7 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So carry my 1, bring down my 6. And then 5 plus 0 plus 1 is 6. So my answer would be 66 and 32 hundredths. If you're not sure where your decimal point goes, ask yourself if your answer makes sense, okay? So we know this is 57 plus 8, if we ignore the decimals, which would be 65. So we know our answer should be around 65. Okay, whereas if we would have put the decimal point here and got 6 point something, that our answer wouldn't make sense if we did that. Okay, so make sure you're asking yourself, does my answer make sense? So now we're going to go down to example 2, and we're going to do this middle one. So 98 minus 4 and 27 hundredths. So this confuses a lot of students because there's no decimal point on 98. But remember, 98 is the same thing as 98.0. Every whole number has a decimal point at the end of it, whether it's there or not. So then I line up my 4 and 27 hundredths. So the 4 goes below the 8 because my decimal points need to line up. And then we put 27 to the right. Now on these, I definitely would put your zeros because I have a lot of students, when they don't, they just put a 7 down here when they start subtracting, and that is not correct. Okay. So when we subtract, we got to borrow from our 8. That becomes a 7. So this would become a 10, but then we have to borrow from it again. So it would become a 9, and this 0 becomes a 10. So 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 minus 2 is 7. Bring down my decimal point. 7 minus 4 is 3. And then 9 minus 0 is 9. So we'd get 93 and 73 hundredths, which makes sense because up here, if we ignore the decimals, it would have been 98 minus 4, which is 94. So it makes sense that our answer is close to 94. So that's all we're going to do on this page because, like I said, you did this yesterday. So flip your page over. And so your second worksheet today, or the second page of it, is all multiplying decimals. So to multiply decimals, multiply as you would with whole numbers, then use the number of decimal places in the factors to place the decimal point in the product. So you multiply as you would with whole numbers, and then you use the number of decimal places in the factors to place the decimal point in the product. So you're multiplying like normal, then moving the decimal point. So this says place the decimal point in the correct location in the product. So if we have 94 hundredths times 5 and 3/10, what I have to do is I have to count how many numbers are to the right of my decimal points. So I have the 9, the 4, and the 3. So that's 3 numbers. So that means in my answer, I need 3 numbers to the right of my decimal point. So my answer would be 4 and 982 thousandths. Okay? Because there's 2 decimal places there, 1 decimal place there. So in our answer, we need 3 of them because we add those together. So on this one, we have 3 and 67 hundredths times 0.587 thousandths. So there's 2 numbers there that are to the right of the decimal point. In this answer, there's 1, 2, 3. And so in our final answer, we need 5 since we add them together. So that would be the 9, the 2, the 4, the 5, and the 1. And so our answer would be, well, our decimal point would go between the 2 and the 1. Okay. Now, on this one, okay, remember, if it's a whole number, the decimal point goes at the end. So this one, there would be 0 numbers to the right. But on this one, 17 and 85 hundredths, there would be 2. The 8 and the 5 are both to the right. So in our final answer, there should be 2 numbers to the right of our decimal point. So it'd be 410 and 55 hundredths would be our final answer. Okay. So that's how you know where to move your decimal point. So now we're actually going to be multiplying some of these. So this says, what is the area of an antique map that has a length of 3 and 25 hundredths feet and a width of 2 and 5/10 feet? So you're going to multiply like normal. So I'm going to ignore the decimal points, and I'm just going to multiply 325 times 25. Okay. Now, if you want, you can put the decimal points there, but it does not matter. You do not need them. Okay, we're going to multiply just like normal. So I'm going to leave them out for now. So I know 5 times 5 is 25. So I carry my 2, bring down my 5. Then I do 5 times 2, which is 10, plus 2 is 12. Carry my 1, bring down my 2. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. Now, since I'm multiplying by a 2-digit number, I gotta add my 0 down there. So then 2 times 5 is 10. So I'm going to cross out that 2, put a 1, and then bring my 0 down. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. I'm going to cross out that one because I don't need it anymore. And then 2 times 3 is 6. So now I add those together. So 5 plus 0 is 5. 2 plus 0 is 2. 6 plus 5 is 11. So I carry my 1, bring down the second one. And then 6 plus 1 plus 1 is 8. Now, that's not my final answer because I got to figure out where my decimal point goes. So in my factors, there was 2 numbers there to the right of my decimal point and 1 number in that one to the right. So in my final answer, I need to have 3 numbers to the right. So 5, 2, and 1. So I'd put my decimal right there. So I'd get 8 and 125 thousandths feet, and since it's area, we square it. All right, on this one, we have 2 and 17 hundredths times 8 and 3/10. If you would like to, pause the video, try it on your own, and then you can fast forward to see if you got the answer correct. And if you didn't, you can rewind to see what you messed up. So 2 and 17 hundredths times 8 and 3/10. So notice I put that decimals in my factors this time, but I did not line them up. We don't ever line up our decimal points when we multiply. So I'm going to ignore them, and this is going to be just doing 217 times 83. So 3 times 7 is 21. So I carry my 2, bring down my 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. And then 3 times 2 is 6. So I get 651. Now I have to bring my 0 down. I'm going to cross out my 2 because I don't need it anymore. And then 8 times 7 is 56. So carry my 5, bring down my 6. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 5 is 13. Carry my 1, bring down my 3. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 1 is 17. Now I add. 1 plus 0 is 1. 5 plus 6 is 11. So I carry my 1, bring down my other 1. 3 plus 6 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So I carry my 1, bring down my 0. 7 plus 1 is 8, and then 1 plus 0 is 1. Now, when I move my decimal points, so I have 1, 2, 3 numbers to the right of my decimal point in my factors, and so I need to have 3 numbers to the right of my decimal point in my answer. So we would put it between the 8 and the 0, and we get 18 and 11 thousandths. And that would be our final answer. Okay, we are going to do these last two. So 17 times 6 and 100ths. Now remember, this, I'm going to put the longer number on top just because it's a little easier. So I'm going to do 6 and 1/10 times 17. Do not line them up because we're multiplying, or do not line up the decimal points. And then multiply like normal. So 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 6 is 42. Bring down your 0. And then multiply all the top numbers by 1. So 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 0 is 0. And 1 times 6 is 6. Now we can add. 7 plus 0 is 7. 0 plus 1 is 1. 2 plus 0 is 2. And then 4 plus 6 is 10. Now, for our decimal point, so if we look up at 17 times 6 and 100ths, in the 6 and 100ths, we have the 0 and the 1 that are to the right of the decimal point, so that's 2. And then the 17, there's none, because remember that would be 17 with the decimal point at the end. And so I just moved this one twice. So I would have the 1 and the 7. And so it would be 102 and 1700ths, and our decimal would go between the 2 and the 1. Last one. So we have 0 and 4/400ths times 2 and 6/10ths. Now, when I set these up, these zeros do not matter. Okay, because if I multiply those zeros by the 2 and the 6, it would just be 0. So when I set this up, all I'm going to do is 26 times 4. And then they'll matter at the end when I have to move my decimal point, but not right now. So I'm going to multiply like normal. 4 times 6 is 24. Carry my 2. Bring down my 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Plus 2 is 10. So we get 104. And then when we move our decimal point, so up top we have the 0 and the 4, so that's 2 places. And the 6 is 1 place. So we have to have 3 numbers to the right of our decimal point in our answer. So that would be all 3 of the numbers. So that means our decimal point would go at the very beginning, and we'd get 0 and 104 thousandths. You don't need the 0 in the front, but that's how it's written most of the time. All right, so now you're going to be finishing up that worksheet from last class. If you haven't started it, you're going to start on it. If you have started on it, hopefully you're on the back now, and you'll be multiplying the decimals. Email me if you have questions.